What's going on, guys? So today I had a delivery from the folks over at Blue Yeti, and it is absolutely insane what arrived in the mail. So insane that I actually had to use my tractor to offload it all because it was so freaking heavy. Now, there's a lot going on here. I think what you're about to see is going to really be revolutionary for a lot of folks looking to upgrade the power system in their RV. So let's talk about it. Hang tight. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have parts of what was provided to me for this video in front of you right here. Now, this is just some of the components, some of the major components, but there's a lot more to this, and there's a lot of stuff that I haven't unboxed yet, but I wanted to go over what you're looking at because this is the meat and potatoes of it. It's pretty dang important. So on this side, you have what's called the RV5 Power Hub from Blue Yeti. On this side, you have a 51.2 volt 100 amp hour battery from Blue Yeti. For all practical reasons, we can say this is a 48 volt system. Now, why is this such profoundly different than what most people see? Because traditionally in RVs, you're going to see a 12 volt system. You're going to have a 12 volt battery that provides all your 12 volt power to most of the things when you're off grid. If you're on grid connected to shore power, then you're traditionally just going to have a power converter, and that power converter will convert your shore power into 12 volt power to power your lights, your slides, your leveling systems, things like that. But when you have no access to shore power, then you have to convert traditionally from 12 volts to 110 or 120 volts to be able to power all the other stuff. Now, you probably heard at the beginning, and those of you who are electrically inclined probably heard me say this is a 51.2 volt battery pack, or again, 48 volts for practical purposes. Why would you want to put something like this in an RV where an RV is traditionally 12 volts? Well, let's talk about what this is. Again, this is the RV5 Power Hub. This thing is absolutely built well. It is so nice. When I unboxed this, I'm like, wow, the fit and finish, everything behind this product is really top notch. And I felt the same way about this battery, which, just so you know, this battery probably weighs, I'm guessing, in the area of around 70 pounds. It's super heavy. This right here probably weighs closer to like 30, 40 pounds, but it's also relatively heavy. Now, the reason why this is so important is because when you use the two of these in conjunction with each other, it's going to give you the capability of providing the 110, 120 volts to your AC as well as the 12 volts to your DC side. Now, if I take this cover off right here, which there's some screws that hold it in place, this part right here just kind of pops out and off. All right. Then you have this cover right here. So when you read these engravings, this says PV in, PV in. So you have PV1 and PV2. That's going to be your solar panels. So again, this is a really cool solution because it is a hub. It is where all your wiring can go into. So these are designed to be able to support solar panel connections coming into the system. On this side, you have your DC out. So this is going to be your 12 volt out. Now, I just said this is a 48 volt system. So what in the heck's going on? Let me show you. So right here, we're gonna start on this side first. You have your AC out. This is gonna be your 110 power out or 120 going to your outlets, perhaps your air conditioning system, your refrigerator, if it's not 12 volt refrigerator, your microwave, and just again, mainly your wall plugs, anything plugged into a standard wall plug. Right here, it says AC grid. So this is where your shore power will come into the system. So your shore power from the pedestal from your RV's AC connections come into this system to be able to bring power to your RV and then distribute it out right here. And then right here, you can see you have your battery input. So this is going to be your 48 volt battery input. And this is auto sensing. So this has a lot of technology built into it to make sure that if you accidentally wire it incorrectly, there's less likelihood that you're going to experience some type of catastrophic issue. So again, the way this would work is you can take these battery packs and you can have multiple battery packs. In my case, I have 2 of these bad boys. To kind of break down the math on this thing, so this battery, and again, being a 48 volt volt system is going to actually put out about 426 amp hours at 12 volts. So if you have two of these, you're going to be pushing over 850 amp hours. So why would somebody want this instead? Again, when you look at the form factor of this, this is the equivalent of 4+ 100 amp hour 12 volt batteries. You combine two of these, it's the equivalent of over 8. So they really think about that for a second. The footprint of this is relatively small. And if I have two of these stacked on top of each other, I'm gonna have a very small footprint that's gonna give me the equivalent of 8 batteries. Now, what's also cool is the fact that the cabling that would actually come into this is gonna be thinner than what you would traditionally need if you're running 12 volts. So if I'm running 8 12 volt batteries, or let's just say 9 12 volt batteries to be fair with in terms of actual comparison, those 9 12 volt lithium batteries are gonna have a super thick cable that would have to run from the battery system into my actual power hub. But because we're running 48 volts, we can actually go to a thinner gauge wire feeding into the system. So you don't have quite as much heat that's gonna build up because of that. So there's a lot of reasons why 48 volts I think is the direction the RV industry is probably gonna eventually go, even though I think 12 volts is here to stay for a while. That said, your batteries would come into this system, right? It would also charge from this system. So you have the capability when you're on 12 volts that this is gonna see, okay, we're running on shore power, we're plugged in, we need to charge the batteries from the power hub. But then we are off grid and we don't have power coming into the RV. Now we need to use the batteries to feed into the system. Okay, so now that we've kind of handled explaining why 48 volts, you know, thinner diameter, less heat. As far as the footprint, it takes up a pretty dang small footprint for the amount of power that you get. And from a weight perspective, it actually tends to weigh a lot less for the size of battery pack it is when comparing it to traditional 12 volt batteries. We'll move on to the next part of it. The next part, again, is solar. So we have our solar panels, which will come in right here. We can have, you know, 2 branches of solar panels if we want, feeding into this system. This acts as your charge controller, which is super cool. So your solar feeds in, you don't need a separate charge controller. Once it feeds in there, it will charge the batteries through the solar connection in here automatically. So again, when we're talking about charging the batteries, it's not only when you're plugged into shore power, it can charge it via solar. Now right here is our AC grid power. That means, again, we install this inside the RV, we feed that twist lock connector that traditionally you see for 30 amp or 50 amp systems directly in here. And this does support 50 amp connectivity on an RV because it has both legs for the 50 amp connection, which is really cool because this supports up to 5,000 watts worth of output power. Over here, we have our AC out. So once we feed the wiring coming in here from the grid, the power source that we're plugged into for shore power, this is where it's fed out to your RV. So this would go to your power station in your RV with all your fuses and breakers and all of that in. And then this would also go out to that same power station to be able to power all of your 12 volt stuff. You also have the capability of pairing a display to this that gives you the ability to manage and see everything that's going on with your power system. Now, some people are going to ask, are we actually going to install this or is it just for show and tell? We are going to install it, but this will be installed on a specific RV that I don't yet have. So once that RV arrives and we have the capability of installing this on here, this will be the big power upgrade that we put on that RV. And this is going to be a huge collaboration because you're going to be able to see how this replaces so many other things. I don't need the solar charge controller anymore. I can go to a smaller diameter wire. I'm going to generate less heat. Yes, my voltage is going to be much higher, but this does all the work of taking that 48 volts and bringing it down to 12 volts and 110, 120 volts that you're going to need for your AC power. So this is really cool, and this is profoundly game-changing for the RV industry because they've consolidated so much into something that looks so nice and is really able to function the way most RVers would want it to function for their applications. But drop a comment below. This video is not to show the entire install because we can't actually install it yet, but I wanted to give you a sneak peek at something that's coming soon. And I think for a lot of folks, this is going to be a game-changing setup for them. I especially love the fact that this battery right here actually has some really cool mounting solutions, so you can put it on a wall. You can mount it on an area that takes up the least amount of space. And again, right here, this is the equivalent of essentially 4 1/4 batteries in normal 12 volt configuration. So This is going to be absolutely awesome. No more daisy chaining batteries together, no more connecting them like that. You're basically going to have 2 battery packs. These are going to be ran in parallel. We'll feed that wiring directly into this big bad boy, and this bad boy can accept the wiring from shore power and distribute it to everything that it needs to go to. Plus, we'll have the capability, once the monitor is something we can add to it, be able to monitor all of that from inside of the RV. So really, really excited to see what we're capable of doing. But what I want to do here real quick is I want to kind of open this up so you can see what's going on. Again, we can get all of our batteries fed into the system right here, and they have all these diagrams on different ways to set the system up that give you the different scenarios that you might need. So again, right here, you have all sorts of different types of scenarios for different types of applications, whether you're going to be running your solar power in a different way, whether you're going to be running multiple batteries or you're going to be running multiple solar banks. This thing is really, really cool. And again, to have one central hub that manages all of that is pretty dang phenomenal. Anyways, I'd love to know what your opinion is. Please drop a comment below. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, especially so you can see when we get this stuff installed into the RV, how clean it looks, the minimal amount of wiring that's actually needed, and the ability to monitor all of it. So that'll be a future video. Anyways, I sure hope you've enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again very soon.